Welcome back with a smiling face. Important note before starting, if you are a fan of audio stories, then our Patreon account is the best platform for you. Join us on Patreon for the best audiobooks ever. Redeeming Himself. Episode 8. Chapter 55 to 60. Chapter 55. Stay right here, I said quietly to Aelia. Walking over to my door, I opened it to a worried-looking Lily. What is going on? I asked her quickly. There is someone here to speak to you. They said it concerns Aelia and Cole, she said worried. Where is my father? And Damien? Declan managed to calm your father down and took him to your mother. But they are expecting you as well. I don't know how long he will wait. Damien is down in your office with our visitor. Did he say who he is? He said he is Azalea's uncle. I stood there stunned. Azalea's uncle? I turned to look at Aelia, her eyes were wide. She had heard everything Lily said. I looked at Lily. Will you stay with her? No, she spoke up. We both looked at her now standing in front of the bed. She looked at me. Liam, I don't think she wants you to leave her. Think about everything that has happened. Lily said in my head. I walked over to her. She raised her eyes to mine. Do you want to stay with me? I asked her softly. Please, she responded. I nodded at her. Looking down, I realized she would need something to wear and my shirt wouldn't suffice for this. Lily, can we get her something to wear? I asked, not taking my eyes off Aelia. Of course. How about we go to our room first, then down to your office? I can link Damien to tell him. She nodded at me. Let's go, I said. I grabbed her hand and we left my room. Lily helped Aelia get some clothes. I waited outside the room, nervous about what waited for us in my office. The girls came out. Aelia had on some jeans and a cream-colored sweater. The loose waves of her coppery hair were coming out of a ponytail high on her head. She looked far more comfortable. She held my coat in her hands. Aelia came to my side and tried to hand me the coat. I shook my head. Hold on to it for now. Just in case, I told her. I held out my hand and she grabbed it. I led the girls down to my office. We paused outside the door. I looked down at Aelia to make sure she was ready. I could tell she was nervous, but she was doing her best to put on a brave front. My heart swelled with pride momentarily as I thought about what an amazing Luna she would be. We walked into my office. Damien stood behind my desk and immediately gave me a surprised look. Are you sure she should be here? He linked. I nodded. Her scent is masked between Lily's clothes and me. Hopefully he won't be able to identify her. Our guest stood opposite Damien and turned around to face us. He was not a large man but still looked strong. He stood as tall as me with lean, slender shoulders. He had short reddish-brown and dark brown eyes. Good evening. I am Alpha Liam Blackfur. Who might you be? I said in a flat voice. My name is Isaac Earlies, Alpha of White Moon, said the man in a deep voice. Aelia clutched my hand even tighter. I had heard of White Moon Pack but never put much stock in the rumors about their alleged powers. Please take a seat, I said. I walked around the desk to where Damien stood. I sat down in my seat, pulling Aelia down into my lap. Lily joined Damien standing beside us. Is it necessary to have the women here? Can we not discuss these matters as they should be, between men, he said, irritation evident in his voice. A low growl came from Damien. Lily stood a bit taller, not one to be disrespected as such. My beta and I share the responsibility of leading our pack with our mates. If they wish to be present with us, they shall be. Now, I am told you have something to discuss with me concerning a threat to my pack. I said in an authoritative tone. He looked between the four of us before he spoke. As you wish. I have some for 2 reasons. The first is to tell you that I have taken care of the issue regarding the challenge for your title by Cole Blackfur. And what do you mean by taken care of? I have sent a few of my elite warriors to end his antics. And why would you do that? Why does a challenge for my title affect the White Moon pack? Because it was not only a challenge for your pack. You see, Cole has also threatened me. Why would he threaten you when he wishes to take my pack? We have no association. But our next leader resides here in your pack if I am to understand the situation correctly. Aelia stiffened in my lap. To avoid suspicion from Isaac, I carefully reached up and put my hand in the small of her back. I did not want Isaac to know who she was just yet. As I have never publicly announced her as my mate, he had no reason to believe his niece was sitting right across from her. You will need to elaborate. I said coolly. Before I took the title of Alpha from my father, my twin sister, Ivy, found her mate. Although it is tradition in werewolf culture for twins to take over a title as a shared entity, our pack does not follow such traditions. My sister decided to leave White Moon with her mate, and came here to Blood Eclipse. I heard word some time later that she had a child. He paused for a moment. With a deep breath he continued. I found my mate after taking over as Alpha. She was unable to bear children. My sister kept her daughter from us, knowing that she would be the rightful heir to the Alpha title as I had no children. My niece is a member of this pack, Aelia Simmons. I nodded my head. Cole wishes to make Aelia his mate. He is not just after my pack, but would have claim to yours as well as the mate of your heir. His presence here now made more sense. Cole will be dealt with, nullifying his challenge to your title. In return, I will be taking my niece to White Moon. She will need to begin training to become Luna and her mate Alpha. Azalea's hand gripped my leg. I could feel her anxiety through our bond. I put the hand that was on her back under her sweater and rubbed circles on her lower back, hoping that my touch would calm her. Bold assumption, I simply stated. I assume nothing. Aelia is my next of kin and rightful leader of our pack. As she already has a mate, she will be made Luna and her mate Alpha. Our bloodline will continue to rule over the White Moon. She is a member of my pack. As such, your claims have not been verified, so they hold no legitimacy. At this time, she holds no responsibility to White Moon. I lifted Aelia from my lap and stood up. Out of respect, I can offer you accommodations for the night. My beta and I will discuss what you have said here today as we verify your claims. I nodded at Damien. Lily moved to Azalea's side while Damien moved towards Isaac. My beta would be happy to show you to one of our guest rooms. We can have dinner sent to you if you wish. He growled low. You will not deny me, young Alpha. Aelia will come with me. It is a feat alone that you have managed to hide her and her abilities from the world. I will expect her ready to depart tomorrow morning. Proof that Cole has been dealt with should arrive by then as well, he said angrily. He rose from his seat and exited the room. Damien followed to take him to a guest room. As the door to the office closed, I turned my attention back on Aelia. Lily held her hand and she was shaking. I grabbed her hand and pulled her to me. Lily left us alone. I sat back down in my chair, pulling her small frame to me. I lifted her face to mine, searching her eyes for an indication of what was going through her head. Baby! I whispered. I am and not. Liam I can tt, she stuttered. Tears started to flow down her cheeks. It's okay, it's okay. He is not taking you away. No one can make you do something you don't want to, okay? She blinked her large green eyes at me. Her whole body was tense. I pulled her face to mine, leaning her forehead against mine. You are my mate, Aelia. I failed you when you were taken by Cole, but I will never let that happen again. Even if you are supposed to be the heir to the White Moon, I will never let him take you if you don't want to go. She took a steadying breath. I wiped the tears from her cheeks. She began to relax a bit. Before she could say anything though, my office door was thrown open with a loud slam. She jumped in my lap, both of us turning to the sound. My father stormed in with my mother close behind. Aelia scrambled off of me. I stood immediately, pulling her behind my back before she could try to run. Anger was rolling off my father in waves as he stood opposite the desk from me. My mother stood next to him with a disgusted look on her face. I stared them both down. It was time to end this once and for all. Aelia I stood behind Liam absolutely terrified. Why did everything have to happen all at once? I wake up from the drug coma that Cole caused only to be ambushed by Liam's father, then some alpha shows up here trying to claim me and here we are again with Liam's parents. Yes. Liam said with a dangerous look in his eye. You know why we are here, son, said Alpha Robert. How could you? Luna Lissa said. Her voice held a combination of anger, disgust, and disappointment. For this precise reason, mother, Liam said. He wasn't wavering. I was still terrified, but my heart warmed as he stood up to his parents for my sake. They all continued to stare at each other. She will not be your mate. She is not fit to be a Luna, his mother said. I grabbed the back of his shirt. She will be a far better Luna than you were, mother. She would never treat an orphaned girl like a servant, he yelled back at her. Don't speak to your mother like that, his father growled. She will not insult my mate. Liam was breathing hard now. You need to make a choice. It's either her or your pack and family. You can't have it both ways, Alpha Robert said in a dangerously low tone. And why exactly do I have to choose? I am Alpha if you have forgotten. You do not make the rules any longer, father. If you do not accept the mate that the moon goddess has given me, then you can leave. My eyes shot up in surprise. He was telling his parents to leave. He was choosing me and standing up to them. When he found out we were mates, all he could think to do was hide me away. Luna Lissa looked like she had been slapped in the face. Liam, how could you ever choose her over your family? Because she is my mate. She is my other half. Of all people, I would think you could understand. I will not make the mistake of rejecting her again. She deserves far better than she has ever gotten from this pack, and I intend to make that happen, Liam said to her. He was so confident and unwavering. My heart was melting at his words. It does not matter who your mate is. It only matters as to who will make the strongest Luna, his father told him. Just because Aelia did not grow up under the same circumstances as mom does not mean that she is unworthy of the Luna title, Liam growled. Your mother is not my mate. My mate was a weak she-wolf who was not fit to help me lead the pack. I rejected her immediately. Your mother is my chosen mate as she was the one most fit for the position, Alpha Robert said. What? Liam roared. Years of lectures about how the moon goddess would give me my perfect half and a mate was the perfect match for a wolf. This also means you lied about finding each other. Liam was seething. He was almost shaking in anger. I took a step back, but Liam didn't seem to notice. His mother turned her head, almost as if she was ashamed he knew the truth. His father continued to stare him down. You will leave my office now. From this moment forward, you will treat Aelia with respect. You will recognize her as the future Luna of Blood Eclipse, or you will leave this pack. There will be no further discussion on this matter, Liam said more calmly this time, but letting his alpha authority slip through. His parents would not be as affected as normal wolves but would still feel the need to comply with his command. Lunalisa gasped, clutching her hand over her mouth. She looked at me with venom in her eyes. Liam and his father continued to stare each other down. Finally, Alpha Robert turned on his heels, grabbing his wife as he stormed out. The door slammed closed and silence fell over us. Liam didn't move at all. I was afraid to move or speak. I never wanted to cause him so many problems with his family. After what felt like ages, Liam turned around to me slowly. His eyes were a bit wild, like he wasn't sure how to process everything that just happened. His eyes fell on me and softened almost instantly. Are you okay? He asked gently. He reached up and cupped my face in his hand. His thumb wiped away tears I didn't know were falling. I stared into his face. So much had happened in such a short amount of time. Every minute since I woke up, Liam has been trying to show me how much he cares and how sorry he is. He told his parents to leave the pack for me. He is protecting me from powerful alphas and insane usurpers. I did something at that moment I never thought I would do again. I launched myself at him, kissing him with everything I had. He froze for a split second before wrapping his arms around me and holding me to him. I wrapped my legs around his waist as he held me. He moved his lips against mine as I poured every ounce of love I could into the kiss. Warmth spread through every inch of my body. We pulled apart, each of us breathless. I leaned my forehead against his, trying to catch my breath. When I could finally form the words, I whispered, "I love you, Liam." Liam. She launched herself at me, capturing my lips with hers. I was stunned for a moment but snapped out of it quickly. I wrapped my arms around her and pulled her close to me. Her legs wrapped around my waist and she held herself to me. Pleasurable sparks erupted from our lips and I could feel Gavin purring in ecstasy. I kissed with as much passion as I could muster while letting her be in control. We finally pulled apart, breathless, as she leaned her face against mine. A small smile spread across my lips. "I love you, Liam," she whispered. I think my heart stopped. It was the most amazing thing I have ever heard. I never thought she would say it ever again. "Oh, Aelia, I love you too," I said, and I crashed my lips to hers once again. She kissed me back with just as much enthusiasm. I basked in the feeling of her lips on mine, her body flush against mine. Before things could go too far, I pulled away. We both sucked in air, desperately filling out lungs. A beautiful smile was set on her now swollen pink lips. I brushed her hair back from her face. "We should go to bed. It's been a long day," I said softly. She nodded. She unwrapped her legs from my waist and I begrudgingly let her body slide down mine until her feet were on the ground. We both straightened our clothes before I held out my hand to her. She placed her hand in mine and I led us out of my office and back to my room. When we reached the bedroom, I linked the wolf tasked with standing guard outside our door tonight. Lily had left some pajamas on the bed for Aelia. I handed them to her. "Want to go change?" She grabbed them and nodded her head. She had the sweetest blush across her cheeks. "Aelia." When I got into the bathroom, I shut the door behind me. My heart has been racing since I first attacked him. Liam seemed so happy and light after I told him I love him. Our kiss made me feel happy and light. I placed my clothes on the counter and went over to Liam's shower. I turned the water to hot and let it warm up while I undressed. I stepped under the steamy water and let it roll down me. It felt as if the stress and tension from the events of the past few hours was washing away. After standing under the hot water for a few minutes, I grabbed Liam's body wash and cleaned up. I decided not to wash my hair for now, I was getting really tired once again. I exited the shower, dried off with a plush towel and got dressed in the clothes I can only assume Lily left for me. They were made of a very soft, light cotton. There were shorts and a tank top. They were very comfortable but not very warm. I looked at myself in the mirror. I was pretty pale but there was a little color coming back to my skin. I exited the bathroom to find Liam standing next to the bed looking at his phone. He was wearing a shirt and some sweatpants. I tried to bat away my errant thoughts and I walked over to him. "Ready for bed?" I smiled. "Yeah," I said quietly. He pulled the covers back on his bed so I could climb in. I laid down with my head on his pillow while he pulled the covers over me. He went over to the small couch at the side of the room. I sat up confused. He turned, looking at me. "What's wrong?" he asked quickly. I just thought. I started but trailed off. His eyes grew wider at my words. "Are you sure?" he asked carefully. I nodded my head. More than anything right now, I wanted to be in his arms. He walked over to the bed and carefully got under the covers. I shifted under the covers, lying next to him. He turned so that we were facing each other. His arm snaked its way around my waist. I sighed in content at his touch and shifted even closer to him. My face moved involuntarily to the crook of his neck, breathing in his scent. As I sat there, breathing deeply into Liam's neck, a strange pull came over me. It felt like there was something telling me to let Liam mark me. It felt like the right thing at that moment even if my better judgment was telling me no. "Mark me," the words left my lips in a whisper as if my mouth had a mind of its own. Liam stilled, surprised by my words. "We don't have to," he said quietly, cuddling his face into the crook of my neck now. I could feel him breathing in my scent. His mouth so close to my marking spot was sending tingles across my skin. "Please, Liam, mark me," I said again. I could hear myself begging him and I do not know what I was doing. "Aelia," he groaned. "Baby, I can't mark you just because my uncle told me to, it's not that," I said, moving my face so I could look up at him. "You saved me. You did everything you had to get me away from Cole. You even put your title and life on the line. I know an alpha challenge is to the death. You defended me. You did not let that alpha take me away. You masked my scent so he would not be able to figure out who I am. Your scent was all over me from carrying me in your coat. Then you had me put Lily's clothes on which Damien's scent also slightly clings to. You told your parents to leave if they could not accept me. You did not let them cast me out. Everything you said today was out of love. When I woke up, I could see it all on your face. I mean it, Liam, I love you. I can't promise you that I will ever get over what happened, but I love you and I want to try. I feel like some part of me is incomplete and something in my mind is saying mark me. So please, mark me. Make me yours completely." I finished quietly. I searched his eyes for something, anything. His eyes poured into me. They were large, round, and the clearest blue. Before I knew it, he was kissing me again. His kiss was loving but hungry. His arms pulled my body flush to his while his lips moved against mine. The smallest moan escaped my lips. Before I was ready, he pulled away leaving me breathless. "Are you sure, baby?" he asked quietly. His eyes searched mine for any doubt. I could not say why, but at that moment, I had none. I nodded my head, biting my lip. He captured my lips in a kiss once more. I closed my eyes and savored the feeling of his kiss. He soon left my lips and trailed his lips down my jaw. His mouth hovered over my ear momentarily. This will hurt at first, but then it will feel good, okay? Just breathe, kitten, he said quietly. A shiver ran through me. Liam moved so that I was lying on my back and he was over top of me. He returned to kissing down my jaw and to my neck. Everywhere his lips touched there were tiny little, pleasurable sparks. He sucked and kissed on my marking spot for a moment, causing me to moan at the feeling. I felt him raise up slightly and I knew he was letting out his canines. I gripped his shirt in preparation. Nothing could have prepared me for what followed. Liam sunk his teeth into my neck and white-hot, searing pain erupted. My body arched up off the bed into Liam and my hands gripped his shirt in a vice. My eyes shot open and I screamed as loud as I could. He removed his canines after a moment and licked the spot. As his tongue swept over the spot where his teeth pierced my skin, my screaming subsided and my eyes rolled back. I could hear Liam's worried calls as I lost consciousness. I felt light and weightless, like I was sitting in the clouds. I tried to remember what had happened before, but I could not remember anything. I opened my eyes and looked around. I was sitting in nothingness. There was a soft light all around me but no discernible objects or people. For some reason, I did not feel panicked at all. I felt calm. "Hello, Aelia," came a voice. I looked around to see nothing. "Would you feel more comfortable if I took a physical form?" "Very well." A large crimson wolf slowly appeared in front of me. She had striking green eyes. "Who are you?" I asked. She laughed. She had a full and robust laugh. "I am your wolf, Clemencia." "Why am I here? What happened?" "You are here so that we can talk. This has been long overdue, but your circumstances have otherwise prevented our meeting." "Talk about what?" "Your gifts." "My gifts?" I was really confused now. "Yes, Aelia. You are very special. You see, you are of a very special bloodline of wolves, wolves descendant from the gods themselves. Your bloodline can be granted special abilities if your wolf finds you worthy." "So, I am worthy? How?" "Because you have had to endure far more than your share of tragedy and hardship. I did my best to help protect you when I was first realized, but my power was not great enough to help you. I was only able to relinquish my first gift to you." "First gift?" "Yes," she explained. "Your first gift is the gift of forgiveness and mercy. I saw this appropriate as the direction of your fate as Luna. Aelia, your heart holds an overwhelming capacity for forgiveness. Liam is the prime example for this." I nodded my head as I thought for a moment. Amy did like to say that I was too nice and forgiving. "So, I have had this since you first came to me." "Yes, and now it is time for me to bestow upon you your next gift." "What is it? And why now? What had changed about me to make me worthy all of a sudden?" "I am doing this now because I am afraid this will be our only meeting. You see, I am simply not strong enough to provide your gifts and be a part of you. It is an unfortunate side effect of your adolescence. Now that Liam has marked you, I was able to draw enough strength from his wolf to appear to you now," she said. "Wait, you drew on Gavin?" "Correct. And I must apologize. I hold the blame for the incident that occurred between you and Liam's wolf. You see, I knew my time was running out and was using my power to push Gavin and Liam to mate and mark you so we could have this talk. Gavin was unaware of my ministrations and succumbed to them in the worst possible way. My mouth dropped open. So, you basically brainwashed him, making him need to mate with me, and that is why he went off the rails. I am afraid so. I did not intend for things to turn out this way. Liam's honor was too much of a factor to consider. I am truly sorry for what happened. I know Gavin feels the same, although he cannot really explain his actions. But now that you are marked, I can bestow another gift upon you before I depart. My hand reached up to my neck. Sure enough, there were 2 small bumps where Liam's teeth would have gone. Now I remembered. Liam marked me and I passed out. Wait, you are departing? Like leaving? Again, you are correct, Aelia, she said. Her eyes looked wistful. I am using the last bit of my strength and energy to give you this gift. You will be of werewolf blood but unable to shift like others. Chapter 56. My eyes welled up with tears. But we finally just met, I said, holding back the tears. This saddens me as well, dear girl. I wish things had been different and I was able to stay with you. But I cannot. The gift I give you will be a physical one and it will help you to be strong by your mate's side. But please never lose sight of your first gift. It is the one you should cherish most. Always. The soft light around me began to dim. The wolf in front of me began to dissipate. Wait, Clemencia, what is happening? Goodbye, dear Aelia, it has been a pleasure. Her voice faded away and darkness overtook me once more. Liam. I paced back and forth across my bedroom floor as my uncle examined Aelia. As soon as my teeth pierced her skin, she screamed. The sound was absolutely heart-wrenching and far worse than I had expected it to be. Before I could even lick the wounds to seal them, her head fell back, and she was gone. Her entire body was limp underneath me and I could not wake her. I tried for at least 5 minutes before calling my uncle. He had come immediately. Well? I asked impatiently. He looked at me sideways. I cannot explain why she fainted once you marked her. Her pulse is normal, her breathing is normal, there are no signs of significant danger that I can find, he said. So how long is she going to be out? How do we wake her up? I almost yelled. Calm down. I think this is something unexplained by medicine, nephew. I do not know when she will wake up. I think we must let her wake up on her own. No, I just got her back. I was breathing heavy now. Every part of me was anxious that I hurt her by marking her. My uncle stood and came close to me. I could feel Gavin slipping closer to the surface. He placed his hand on my shoulder and looked into my eyes. You did not do this to her. This is not your fault, he said calmly. From where I stand, you are saving this girl piece by piece. Just be here for her, love her how she needs. One day, she will be whole, and I think you are the only one that can help her get there. I stared at him blankly. He gave me a tight smile before dropping his arm and leaving the room. Gavin, what do I do? No answer came. What was going on? I felt him but he was not responding to me. I sighed. It was hard to accept my uncle's words after all that has happened between us. It feels like every ounce of Aelia's pain has been caused by me. How can I piece her back together if I keep tearing her apart? It has been 2 agonizing days since I marked her. She has not moved an inch. And I have not moved from her side. Gavin still is not speaking to me, leaving me to wallow in my own thoughts. I've dozed off a couple times, never sleeping for more than an hour. I would always wake up with this strange feeling and frantically realize what happened. Damien has come in a few times, trying to lull me away from her. I just cannot do it. I cannot leave her side. Alpha Isaac has continually requested an audience with me, and Damien has thankfully pushed him off. My chest hurts, I haven't been able to breathe properly for 2 days now. I got her back, she accepted me, and just like that I lost her again. I rubbed my hands over my face trying to scrub away anxiety, fear, and exhaustion. I just needed her to open her eyes. I needed to know she was okay. Liam, a soft angelic voice floated into my ears. My head snapped up, my eyes locked onto hers. A smile played across her lips. "Baby, you're awake," I said in disbelief. I reached forward, brushing her hair out of her face. She closed her eyes and leaned into my touch. I could not stop the panic. "No," I said quickly. Her eyes shot back open. Her face now read confusion. "You can't close your eyes again. You can't leave me," I said weakly. "Liam, what's wrong?" she asked quietly. I took a deep breath. Every word out of her mouth was a breath of fresh air. "Aelia, you have been out for 2 days, I told her. "No, what?" she asked. She sat up slowly trying to make sense of everything. "I marked you and, I was having trouble forming the words." She reached out and placed her hand on my arm. "I'm okay, Liam. I promise," she said, trying to soothe me. It was working. I could not take it any longer. I moved forward and pulled her into my arms, pulling her body close to mine. I sat on the bed, bringing her into my lap. I buried my nose into her neck and just inhaled. "I'm okay," she whispered over and over to me. After a few minutes, I loosened my grip on her. She pulled away slightly and looked into my eyes. I grabbed her small face in my hands and kissed her soft lips. She kissed me back tenderly. I savored the feel of her mouth on mine, not wanting to ever let her go. After a few minutes, I loosened my grip on her. She pulled away slightly and looked into my eyes. I grabbed her small face in my hands and kissed her soft lips. She kissed me back tenderly. I savored the feel of her mouth on mine, not wanting to ever let her go. When we finally pulled apart, her gorgeous green orbs looked at me with concern. "Are you okay?" she asked quietly. "I am now that you're back," I told her honestly. I needed to know, so I asked her. "What happened? Where did you go?" "I am not sure. But I met someone," she said slowly. "Met someone?" "Yeah. I met my wolf." "Aelia, what do you mean?" She took a deep breath. "She's gone now, but we spoke. She explained some things, and there are things that I need to tell both you and Gavin." "Baby, you've lost me here. What are you talking about?" I asked desperately, searching her eyes. "Do you remember how Alpha Isaac said that my bloodline carries certain gifts?" I nodded at her. "My wolf came to me. She told me of the first gift she gave me and the second she was giving me before she left." "She left?" A sad look came over her eyes. She looked down for a second, a tear escaping her eye. I wiped it away with my thumb, waiting for her to continue. She took a deep breath. "My wolf's first gift to me was forgiveness and mercy. She said it would help me in my fate to be Luna. Somehow, she knew I would need it to help me forgive you. She gave me that gift when she first came to me. But because I was not physically strong enough, she could not stay with me forever. She held on long enough in there to give me a second gift. But she needed me to be marked to be strong enough to receive it. She looked up into my eyes like she was waiting for me to understand. I blinked a few times trying to grasp what she was telling me. I don't understand, Gavin didn't know it, but she was pushing you to mate and mark me. She said that she was responsible for what happened. She paused for a minute. More tears fell from her eyes. It wasn't his fault, Liam. It wasn't your fault either. He was being pushed to insanity to mate and mark me. My wolf needed it to happen, so she didn't have to hold on any longer. So, you're saying? Yes, she said softly. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't his fault. Aelia, it wasn't your fault. It wasn't his fault, I told him. I looked into his eyes. There were so many emotions going across his face, I could not even begin to know what he was thinking. Liam, say something, he nodded his head. I don't. It wasn't, I gave him a small smile. Liam, I forgive you. I forgive you both. Almost the moment I finished that sentence he smashed his lips to mine, kissing me as if his life depended on it. His arms snaked around me tighter, holding me closer to him as if I was going to disappear. One hand moved up my back and weaved its way into my hair, cradling the back of my head. The other one was wrapped around my waist, keeping me tight to him. I held his face in my hands. He kissed like he needed me to live and I kissed him back just as hard. He finally relinquished my lips. We were both breathing hard. It's okay, I told him breathlessly. There were warm tears pouring from his eyes. I love you, Liam. I love you so much, Aelia, he said. After a few more minutes, our breathing calmed. He repositioned us so that he was sitting against the headboard. I laid my head against his chest and listened to the rhythmic beat of his heart. He buried his nose in my hair. We sat there for a while. I thought he might have fallen asleep. I knew he just needed me near him for a while. By the looks of him, he had not even slept since he marked me. There was one more thing I needed him to know before I talked to Gavin. Liam, I said softly, not wanting to wake him if he had fallen asleep. He hummed. I knew he was fighting it. He did not want to sleep now that I was awake. There is one more thing, I said hesitantly. What is it, baby? I still need time. I forgive you but I still need time, I said hoping he understood. You can have all our life if it means you'll stay with me forever, he said softly. I could hear the raw emotion in his voice. I smiled and snuggled into him closer and closed my eyes. After a few minutes I could hear his breath even out in his chest. He was finally falling asleep. I let myself fall asleep right there in his arms. I could feel hands stroking my hair when I woke. Liam's nose was buried in the top of my hair once again as his other hand mindlessly drew circles on my back. I lifted my head to look at Liam. Good morning, beautiful, he said with a smile. He looked so much better. Morning, I said, smiling back at him. Did you sleep okay? He asked. Yeah. Did you? He had some color back in his face and his dark circles were almost gone. He nodded. Much better with you in my arms, he said with a handsome smile. I laid my head back against his chest and listened to the sound of his breathing. We sat like that in comfortable silence for a few minutes. As much as I want to just sit here with you forever, there are things we need to do, he said, a little disappointed. I nodded my head. First, shower, he said. I giggled. Yes, you very much need a shower. It smells like you haven't showered since you rescued me, I said jokingly to him. Well, he said guiltily. Liam. I exclaimed, sitting up and smacking him in the chest. I couldn't leave your side. What if you woke up and I wasn't there, he said. His eyes were wide. He was so serious. It was so sweet, it melted my heart a bit. Okay, but next time just leave me with Lily and take a shower, I said. No, next time, he said, and he buried his face in my neck. I could feel his worry. He never wanted me to be hurt or away from him again. You're right, no next time, I said softly. We took turns showering in his bathroom. I went first. When I exited the shower, Liam had clothes in a basket on his bed for me. They weren't my own things, but they were all clothes that fit my style and they were all my size. I wondered if this was Lily's doing or his own. I dressed in a black blouse with gold and white flowers all over it and a pair of black jeans. When the bathroom opened again, Liam stood in the doorway with a towel hung dangerously low on his hips. I involuntarily licked my lips and felt warmth pooling low in my stomach. He chuckled at me. Like what you see, kitten, he said in a seductive tone. I swallowed. He continued to giggle. It's the mate bond, baby. Now that you are marked, you will feel a stronger attraction to me. I nodded my head. He was clearly amused as he went to his closet. I went to the bathroom to fix my hair. Walking into the bathroom, I realized I did not have a brush or anything, only the hair tie that had managed to survive everything with me over the past couple weeks. I was trying to finger comb through my red curls when Liam came in dressed this time. I looked at him in the mirror, my mouth watering. He wore a grey polo and dark jeans. His arms bulged from the sleeves, slightly straining the material, and you could see his muscular chest under the shirt. We can get your things soon, I promise. I should have thought about that sooner. I am sorry, baby, he said, coming behind me and placing his hands on my waist. I shook my head. It's okay. I have clothes at least. Thank you, I told him with a smile. He leaned forward, brushing my hair away from my neck, and kissed his mark. Tingles ran through my neck as his lips made contact with my skin. I could feel his smirk as his face hovered over my skin. Beautiful, he whispered into my neck. I blushed. He finally stood up again, moving next to me to get himself ready as well. I began pulling the top half of my hair into a twisted bun. So, what do we need to do? I asked. Well, unfortunately we need to speak with your uncle, he said. Chapter 57. Liam. I knew Aelia was going to be nervous, and frankly I was not too excited about this either. I had breakfast brought up to us, so she didn't have to face anyone just yet. After we were finished getting ourselves ready in the bathroom, we sat on the couch in my room and ate our breakfast. I looked around the room while we ate. I realized that I desperately needed to do some remodeling to make this our space instead of just mine. I wanted her to feel comfortable here. Hey, Damien, are you busy? Not super. What's up? Think you can help me with a project? Or maybe let Lily tackle it? Depends, what is it? Fixing up my room to make room for Aelia. Going to get all mushy on us, now are you? He joked. But seriously, Lily will be all over it. I will have her head up there once you guys get down here. Are we still speaking before we bring in Isaac? Yeah, I need an update before we speak to him. Thanks, man. I cut the link and looked over to Aelia. She had an odd look on her face. What's up, baby? I asked her. Were you talking to someone? She asked back. Oh yeah. Just linking Damien. He is going to meet us in my office in a few minutes before we meet your uncle. Oh, Okay, she said. She sounded a little sad. What's wrong? I asked. It's nothing, she said, looking down into her lap. I scooted closer to her and placed my finger under her chin. I lifted her eyes to mine. It's something. Just tell me, baby, I said. I would fix anything that made her heart sad. Well, my wolf is gone, but I was still sort of hoping that I would be able to link with you once I was marked, she said. I could hear the disappointment in her voice. I am sorry, baby. Want me to ask my uncle, see if he knows something that could help? Sure, she said with a tight smile. Should we go meet Damien? I looked into her gorgeous green eyes. This girl just amazes me. She is so quick to dismiss her own feelings to take care of others. She would be an incredible Luna, but I knew I would need to make sure I looked after her, so she didn't overdo herself looking after others. I sighed. Yeah, let's go. I stood up and held my hand out for her. She placed her hand in mine and let me lead her out of the room. Lily, room is all yours, I linked her. All I got in response was a squeal. I smiled to myself. Hopefully, this would make Aelia feel more at home here. We entered my office to find Damien already there, sitting in one of the chairs. He looked over his shoulder at us as we entered. Putting his phone into his pocket, he said, finally. Good morning, Luna. He shot a smile at Aelia. She gave him a pleasant smile back. Good morning, Damien. But please just call me Aelia. I am not Luna, she said to him. Yet, he said, chuckling and looking to her neck. Her cheeks immediately flamed. I smiled, looking at the beautiful marks on her neck. All right, enough teasing. What do we have? I interrupted in an attempt to spare her embarrassment. I sat down in my chair and pulled Aelia onto my lap. I held her legs over mine and rubbed them lightly. Well, Alpha Isaac has begrudgingly been waiting the past couple days to meet with you again. He has had a lot of questions about your mate's illness, and I think he is getting suspicious. He has been caught trying to snoop around pack members. We think he is trying to seek out Aelia on his own. We also have not been given any evidence of his handling of the Cole situation. There has been no activity around Cole's lands, and no messages have been sent since the supposed timeline he gave you ran out, Damien prattled on. Well, fortunately, my mate's illness is none of his business. We have no allegiance to his pack, and I owe him no explanations. I will say, it is bold of him as a guest of ours to be trying to seek out my pack members right under my nose, I thought out loud. Yet, he was assigned an escort to keep an eye on him, Damien said. I nodded. As for Cole, we need to find out what Isaac has to say about the situation. We need to be aware of the variables here, as this concerns Aelia's safety the most. You do not think that Isaac will be able to figure out who Aelia is? Are you not concerned that he would try to take her? Even if he does figure out who she is, now that I am not trying to mask her scent as much, he would not be so short-sighted as to try to take away the mate of another alpha. Aelia's hand clenched the bottom of my shirt. I knew this conversation was setting her nerves on edge. Maybe we have the Delta or Gamma watch over her while we meet with Isaac, I suggested, sneaking a peek at her face. I could see worry written across her features. Damien nodded. Your uncle did want to see her now that she is awake. Maybe we can have them take her to the clinic. That is a good idea, I told him. I looked at Aelia. Is that okay for you? Can Austin and Jacob take you to see my uncle while Damien and I handle Isaac? She nodded hesitantly. I had a feeling she would rather Damien, Lily, or I go with her, but Lily was busy and I wanted Damien in this meeting with me. I would have Lily go with you, sweetheart, but she is occupied this afternoon, I said, stroking her cheek. She gave me a small. It's okay. I will be fine with whoever, she said. At least she was not fighting me on giving her an escort. I made a mental note to talk with Damien about getting her a permanent guard for when I could not be with her. Damien's eyes glazed over momentarily, and I knew he was linking Austin and Jacob. They had been friends with Damien and I growing up, so they probably remembered who Aelia was. I sighed. I guess this would be the first real test as to whether we would be able to get pack members to accept her. Damien gave me a knowing look. They will be here in a few minutes, he said. I also linked Isaac's escort. He will bring him here in 20. That should give us enough time to have her away from here. Although, her scent will still linger. It also clings to you, he linked. Although, her scent will still linger. It also clings to you, he linked. I know. Again, I think he would be short-sighted to try and take her from me. Now that I marked her, I can feel a shift in my strength and power. I looked at my sweet mate in my lap. Austin and Jacob will take you to see my uncle. When Damien and I are done with Isaac, I will come find you, okay? I said. She gave me a sweet smile. Of course, she said. I leaned forward and planted a chaste kiss on her lips. There was a knock on the door. I shifted her off my lap and stood up with her next to me. Come in, I said. Austin and Jacob entered the room. Aelia. Austin and Jacob came into Liam's office. I recognized them from growing up and they had not changed too much. The only thing I did notice was that the Delta, Austin, had mate markings on his neck while Jacob did not. You summoned us, Alpha. Jacob said as they came in the door. He and Austin caught sight of me at the same time. Jacob stilled momentarily while Austin gave him a confused look. Yes, said Liam, his voice all business now. I would like you two to meet my mate, Aelia, he said. He placed an arm around my waist possessively. Jacob had a look of shock on his face while Austin only confusion. You two may or may not know who she is, but that is of no importance. She is my mate and your future Luna. I need you two to escort her to the clinic today to see Dr. Ronald. They stared at him with disbelief. He sighed. Yes, she is who you think she is. She used to be called Traitor Girl as we grew up. But let me make this clear. Whatever you think you know about her or any preconceptions you have, you forget them here and now. She is my mate and that is all that matters now. You will protect her with your lives. You will respect her as your Luna. Liam gave them a hard look. Jacob seemed to be having a hard time coming to terms with this. Austin shrugged. Cool, said Austin. Looking at me, he said, Hello, Luna. I am Delta Austin. I am happy to be your escort today. He gave me a charming smile and bowed his head slightly. I nodded, giving him a small smile. Jacob looked between Liam and me. Jacob. Liam prompted. Yeah. Good morning, Luna, he said flatly. Shall we go then? Austin said in a cheery tone. Liam turned to me. Everything will be okay. I won't be long, he said, stroking my cheek. I gave him a smile. I will be okay, Liam, I told him. I love you, he whispered and leaned down to give me a kiss. I love you, too, I said as we broke apart. Go before I keep you here, he said jokingly. I rolled my eyes. I stepped around the desk towards Austin and Jacob. Damien was giving Jacob a serious look. Shall we? Austin said. I nodded at him. He turned around to lead the way out of the office. I followed him and Jacob followed me. We left the office and Austin led us out of the pack house and over towards the pack clinic. I walked slightly behind him. Halfway to the clinic, he turned to me, slowing a couple paces so he was walking next to me. "So, Aelia, right?" he said, trying to start a conversation. "Yeah," I said quietly. "How did you find out the alpha is your mate?" he asked. "If you don't mind me asking," he added quickly with a nervous look in his eyes. "That is sort of a long story," I said. "No worries. Honestly, I am just glad he found you. You seem good for him. He is happier today than I have seen him in years," he said. "Really?" "Oh yeah. I have always lived in the pack house, so Liam and I have been friends since we were young. Not as close as him and Damien though. Sometime after his 18th birthday I noticed he changed. He did not want to hang around as much, didn't smile as much. He put up a good front, but I knew something else was going on," he explained. "I guess I never thought he was that set on finding his mate. But you're here now, so that is great." He gave me a big smile. Austin seemed warm and nice. He seemed like someone I could be friends with, like Lily. I relaxed slightly. "I am glad I make him happy," I said with a smile. "So, when are you going to officially become Luna?" he asked. "I can see he already marked you and you smell like him, so you are mated." "I am not sure. We haven't really talked about it. Hopefully soon. Now that this hunter business is over. Seems like it moved on. Although all the extra patrols around the lake house were sort of weird there for a minute." Austin talked with very little filter. "So, are you mated?" I asked, trying to change the subject. "Oh yes. Abigail. She is the most beautiful she-wolf I have ever laid eyes on," he said with a dreamy look in his eyes. "No offense," he added quickly. I giggled. "None taken. We are expecting our first pup in 2 months as well," he said with excitement. "That is so wonderful," I said with a smile. "I assume it won't be long until we have some alpha pups running around here as well," he said, wiggling his eyebrows. My eyes widened. Yeah, well, we haven't talked about that." He laughed. "I am just joking. There is no rush. I am sure Liam wants you all to himself for a little while." We reached the clinic. Austin held the door open for me. I walked in the clinic, not missing the aggravated look he shot at Jacob as he came in behind me. We went to the desk where the receptionist gave us a curious look. "I have someone special to see Dr. Ronald," he told her. "And who is this person?" she said, looking at me. "Tell the doc the alpha sent her over," he said in a flat voice. She gave him a curt nod. She picked up her phone and dialed. "So, what does the doc want with you?" Austin said, distracting me. "I am not sure, really," I told him. Austin shrugged, turning his attention back to the receptionist. I peeked over at Jacob. He was standing a good 6 feet away from us with a sour look on his face. His eyes were glued to me. He clearly did not like me. "The doctor can see her now," said the receptionist, standing up. She led us to an office door. Austin stopped and nodded to me to go in. I nodded back and entered the room. Dr. Ron was sitting at his desk. He looked up from the file he was reading when I entered. "Ah, Aelia. My most interesting patient. Come in," he said warmly. I sat at the chair in front of his desk. "And how are you feeling this morning? As I understand it, you woke up sometime last night." I nodded. I did. And I feel great now, I said with a smile. That is great to hear. No tiredness or weakness. Nope. I actually feel pretty energized, I told him. That is wonderful, he said. He pulled out another file and jotted down a few notes. So, what did you want to talk to me about? I asked as he wrote. Right, well, as you know, you are not a normal case by any means. I was hoping you would share a little more with me about what happened after Liam marked you. Whatever you can remember would be very helpful, he said. Sure. Well, when he marked me, it hurt a lot. Worse than anything I have ever felt. Can you describe the pain? It was searing pain. Like something hot was being stabbed into my skin, I explained. And then you passed out. Yes. I must have. Then next thing I remember was waking up in a very strange space. And then I met my wolf. His eyes perked up at that. You met your wolf? I nodded. Yes. At first, she was a voice. Then materialized in front of me. She was beautiful, I said wistfully. He let me pause without saying anything. Then I continued. She explained to me that my bloodline carries special abilities and that she granted me the first when she was first realized, but because of that and my physical state, she was never strong enough to shift. So, she lay dormant all this time. The first ability. Yet, she said she granted me the gift of forgiveness and mercy. She said she gave me a great capacity for forgiveness and mercy towards others, and Liam was an example of this. He nodded his head. With all that boy's foolishness, I have to say, I agree. By any accounts, you should have rejected him as soon as you saw him again. I looked down for a moment. Dr. Ron, what if it's not true? What if me accepting Liam was just selfish? I asked quietly. How do you mean? When Liam left me at the inn, it hurt. My whole body hurt for a long time. Then eventually it started to fade. But it never really went away. There were times where my chest hurt so bad, like there was this big hole in it. It felt like there was this piece of me missing. When he came back, that hole started to close, and that pain began to lift. I felt like it was easier to breathe, and the more time we spent together, the less awful I felt. Part of me wanted to reject him and just be rid of him, but I could not do it. I knew it would hurt and I just couldn't face that pain again, even if it would have been better for both of us. I said. He said. Do you still think that? That it would have been better to just reject him? My eyes snapped up to his. After everything you two have been through in the past couple weeks, do you still feel it would have been better for the both of you to break that bond completely and let him go? I thought for a moment. No, I almost whispered. I don't think so. Then I do not believe your actions come from a selfish place. It is not selfish to desire to be loved and wanted, Aelia. It is not selfish to accept a gift given to you by the moon goddess, he said. He gave me a warm smile. Okay, I said. It felt a little better to know that someone did not think that I was being selfish. Back to your wolf. She told you of your first gift. Does that imply that there are others? Yet. She said she was pushing Liam and Gavin to mate and mark me so that she could feel enough strength to grant me one more gift before she departed. I see. And did she tell you what this gift is? No, she didn't. She just said that it would help in my duties as the Luna of our pack. And she departed. Yes, she said that she was using the last of her power to grant me my second gift and that she had to leave. This is all very interesting, he said. He wrote down a few more notes. So, I must admit something, Aelia. I know of the incident that occurred between you and Liam's wolf out at the lake house. My eyes widened. I will not pry, but I wanted to ask something. It seems that you and Liam have seemed to patch things up, or at least begin to. Especially seeing as you allowed him to mark you. My question is, have you spoken with Gavin since you have woken? I swallowed. I had not. I knew that I would need to speak with him to make everything right, but I was still scared to do so. I was scared what could happen if Liam did not have control. No, not yet, I admitted. I see. I cannot tell you what to do as my future Luna, but I would like to offer this advice. Speak with Gavin soon. Liam and Gavin being at odds will only make him weak. Him being at odds with his wolf is not good for the pack and may not be good for your relationship. I also think you should try to make room in your heart for Gavin. You are now both of their mates. Gavin does not have your wolf counterpart or the possibility of one. He will need you, and I have a feeling you will need him. I nodded my head and gave him a small smile. Do you have any other questions for me? I shook my head. Well, if you need anything at all, please feel free to come see me anytime, he said, standing up. I believe there is a very tense Delta and Gamma waiting for you in the hall. Chapter 58. Liam. As soon as Aelia left, I looked at Damien. We need to arrange a permanent guard for her. I will not be able to keep her in my sight at all times, and I have a feeling she will eventually like some freedom, I told him. That is a good idea. How would you like to go about this? We should start by looking at our most skilled warriors. Maybe look for any that may have integrated in the past couple years so they may not have any preconceived opinions about her. Give her a fresh start if we can. Also, no one unmated, I finished. He smiled at me. I will look into it. Until then, should we continue to use Austin and Jacob? Let's see how they do today, I said, not convinced. Jacob did not seem to like my orders concerning Aelia. Before he arrives, were we able to substantiate any of his claims from last time I met with him? He is positively the Alpha of White Moon, and I found no evidence to suggest that Aelia's mother is not his sister. So, from what we can gather, Aelia is in fact his niece. She would hold a claim to the Alpha position of White Moon. I nodded my head. There was a knock on my door. Alpha Isaac was here. Come in, I said. Damien moved to stand behind me and Alpha Isaac entered the room. I motioned for him to sit. He sat in the chair opposite me and looked at me expectantly. Good morning, Alpha Isaac. Thank you for your patience over the past few days. I appreciate the lack of interruption while I was with my mate, I said. Very precarious situation. Your mate is a she-wolf, is she not? I am curious as to what ailment would cause your disappearance for so long, he said. That is a personal matter, I am afraid. But rest assured, she is back in full health. I appreciate your concern, I said coldly. He smirked. So, where is my niece? You know I would not forcibly hand over a member of my pack. You were able to corroborate my claims, were you not? He challenged. Yes. It does appear that you have a niece who is a member of my pack. The problem you fail to see is that although she has a claim to your pack, she does not want your title. He growled. I do not care what her wishes are. She has a responsibility to her blood. She will come to White Moon. I find it interesting that you have yet to inquire about your sister and her own mate, I challenged. You think I am unaware of my sister's foolish actions? I know she followed along like a weak BCH with her mate and his foolish plans to help usurp your father. I know she died leaving Aelia to grow up knowing nothing of her heritage. Rage was brewing in his eyes. Then if you knew all of this, why did you never come to claim Aelia? Why let her grow up an orphan? Surely growing up with her alpha uncle would have been better than an orphan in her birth pack. He growled and stood up. I will not take judgment from a baby alpha. I stood up, meeting his glare. From where I am standing, it does not matter. You failed her as a child, and you will not dictate her future now. You will have to find another successor of your title. You will not be taking anyone from my pack, Alpha Ear Lies. You owe me. I took care of the threat to your title and this is how you repay me, he shouted. I never asked for your assistance in this matter. You also have not provided me any proof that Cole's threat has been neutralized, I said, a dangerous calm coming over me. Damien was stiff but silent behind me. As far as we can tell, the whereabouts of Cole are currently unknown. I can assure you, my people will not have let him get away, he growled. And you still have no evidence to substantiate this. Now, I believe we have nothing left to discuss. I expect you to make your travel arrangements and be leaving my lands by morning time. If you will excuse me, I have obligations elsewhere, I told him. I turned to Damien who nodded. We walked around my desk, past Isaac, and left my office. Do you think he will really accept your decision? I will give him no choice. He is not taking Aelia. She is just warming up to being Luna, there is no chance that she wants to take an entire pack. We made our way towards the front doors of the pack house. I am going back to my office. I should also check on Lily. She linked me for your credit card number during that meeting, he linked. Oh goddess! Damien giggled as he walked away. I left out the front pack house doors and made my way over to the clinic. It was a brisk fall day. I should have brought Aelia a sweater. Hopefully, my uncle was done with her because I wanted some time with my mate. I walked in the front doors and smiled at the receptionist. Good morning, Alpha. What can I do for you? She asked with a bat of her eyelashes. I just wanted to pop in and talk to my uncle really quick. He should be with someone I sent over. I told her. Oh yes, that shy little thing. Austin and Jacob took her back there. You can head on back there, she said. I gave her a little smile and a thanks and headed back towards his office. What is your problem? You have had an attitude since Liam asked us to do this. I heard Austin whisper yelling. I stopped just out of their sight to listen. Are you kidding me? You know who she is? And Liam is just going to blindly accept her as his mate? Something does not add up. She was still in the pack on his birthday. Why didn't he know then? And where has she been? Why is she back now? Jacob ranted. Does it matter? It really isn't any of your business and it's his mate. Are we sure? What if she is pulling some trick on him? Why? Why would she show up now after being gone for years? And how is she supposed to trick the mate bond? She doesn't have a wolf. How can she have a mate? Damien's mom is a human. She is Beta Declan's mate. Seriously, what is your problem? She seems so nice. Her parents were traitors. You can't honestly believe she came back here because she wanted to. Maybe you don't know her. Liam told us to drop the past. If you cannot do that, you need to take it up with Liam and not take it out on her. I was actually quite impressed with Austin. He was defending his Luna with no hesitation. I walked towards them, effectively stopping their conversation. Jacob averted his eyes. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I suspect my mate is still speaking with the doctor. I spoke. Yet, she's still in there, said Austin. Is there an issue, Jacob? I directed at him. No, Alpha. No issue. Good, because if there was some issue that you had with my mate, I would hope you come to me about it, I said in a flat tone. He nodded at me with a stoic look. Just then the door to the office opened gently and Aelia emerged. She froze seeing all of us. All good there, Luna? Austin was the first to pipe up. She gave him a small smile and nodded. Her eyes traveled to me. A sweet smile stretched across her face. Ready, baby? I asked, forgetting about the gamma. I held out my hand to her and she walked to me. She grasped my hand and smiled up at me. Want to go somewhere with me? I asked. She nodded her head. Austin, Jacob. You are both dismissed for now. They nodded their heads and led the way out of the clinic. I followed them with Aelia in tow. When we stepped outside, she hugged my arm closer, bringing her body flush to mine. I let go of her hand and wrapped my arm around her, letting her share in my warmth. What did my uncle have to say? I asked her. Just some questions about what happened when you marked me. Can I assume you called him when I didn't wake up? She said with a smile. Yet. I was worried, I said. Thank you, she said. I looked at her quizzically. For worrying. I will always worry about you, I said. I bent down and kissed her forehead. So, what are we doing? She asked. I gave her a big smile. I wanted to take my beautiful mate on a picnic. She smiled. How does that sound? She nodded her head eagerly. I chuckled. I quickly linked Lily. Hey, how long do you think you are going to take with that project? I am thinking we will be done by morning. Can you stay away tonight? Yeah, got it handled. Can you send a sweater downstairs to the kitchen for me right now? And then maybe some clothes for the night later. Sure thing, I will send someone down with stuff in just a few. Thanks, Lily. Aelia. Liam led us back into the pack house and to the kitchen. Walking around the pack house and grounds so openly made me very nervous. Having Liam with me made it better though. There were not a lot of people around, so we weren't getting much attention. When we got to the kitchen, there was a small girl packing a picnic basket. Oh, Alpha Liam. I got everything all set for you, she said excitedly. She was a cute little girl with mousy brown hair that fell in soft curls around her face. She had happy brown eyes that shined when she looked at Liam. She had to be no more than 9 years old. Thank you very much, Missy. Liam said, bending down on one knee to be at eye level with her. She gave him a sweet hug. Why don't you go make yourself a big bowl of popcorn and watch a movie down in the lounge? And you can enjoy these, he said as he reached in his back pocket and pulled out a box of M&M candies. She squealed in excitement. Really? She asked excitedly. Absolutely. You deserve a special reward for doing a special job for the Alpha, he said, smiling at her. Alpha Liam, it was just sandwiches, she said with a huge smile on her face. Well, I still appreciate it. Now go on, he said. She grabbed the candy from his hand and excitedly ran from the kitchen. He stood up and turned around towards me. Ready? He asked. Who was that? I asked. That was Missy, he said. Why is she in the kitchen? She is what, 8 or 9? She is 9, I believe. Her father was a warrior for the pack. He died last year, and her mother has a hard time taking care of her alone. Missy comes and stays in the pack house a lot and asked if she could earn some money to help her mother. So, we give her easy tasks or special things she can do to help out. We also give her money for her work and she takes it back to her mother. Sometimes, I give her special tasks with a more tangible reward, so she gets to enjoy something for how hard she works, he said with a small blush on his face. My eyes teared up. Oh, Liam, I said, trying to hold in the tears. In every way, he was a better alpha than his father. He moved closer to me, reaching out to grab my waist. Hey, what's wrong? Did I do something? He asked, worried. I shook my head and stepped closer to him, wrapping my arms around his waist, and laying my head against his chest. He wrapped his arms around me. Baby, why are you upset? I stayed quiet for a moment, just holding him. He sighed. I couldn't let a little girl like that end up like you. I could not let her hurt. I converted a few of the Omega bedrooms into kids' rooms. Bunk beds, toys, games, books. Everything they could need should they need it, he said, running his hand through my hair. I pulled away from him and looked up into his sweet blue eyes. I love you, I whispered. He bent down and placed a loving kiss on my lips. I love you, too. We should go have some lunch, he said quietly after we broke apart. I nodded my head. Here, put this on. It's cold out, he said, wrapping me in what I assumed to be one of his sweatshirts. Chapter 59. Liam took me to a beautiful park near the pack house. I cannot remember much before my parents died and never got the opportunity to enjoy leisure time after. The park was beautiful with lots of gorgeous flowers and plants all around. We ate the delicious lunch that Missy packed for us and enjoyed a decadent fudge brownie as dessert. We talked and laughed, and everything was easy. So, you are really telling me that chick flicks are your favorite movies? I laughed at him. He laughed as well. What? Is that so bad? No, actually it's really cute, I gave him a smile. They really aren't different from the cheesy romance novels you like, he pointed out. Hey! I said. I like a wide variety of genres, thank you very much. He just laughed. I looked around the deserted park we were in. This place is really beautiful, I said to him. He smiled. It's usually empty during the daytime on weekdays. There isn't any type of playground equipment here, so parents aren't bringing their pups. Wolves without pups are usually here in the evenings and weekends. My heart melted. He was always so thoughtful. He was doing everything in his power to ease me into being at the pack and not making me face everyone all at once. What are you thinking about? He asked. You, actually, I told him. I could feel my cheeks heat up a little. He gave me a curious look. I was thinking about the fact that somehow you have managed to keep me away from other pack members for the most part. You chose a picnic spot where we would not be stared at or questioned. You didn't even tell your Gamma and Delta about you having a mate until this morning when you wanted someone to protect me. He nodded his head, blushing a bit. His hand rubbed the back of his neck like he was nervous. I know this wasn't really your choice and I wish I didn't have to bring you here like I did. But I thought if maybe I helped you ease into it all, you wouldn't be as scared. And maybe if you could slowly see that people would accept you, you could be more comfortable taking the Luna title. I gave him a sweet smile. I crawled across the blanket to him and sat straddling his lap. I wrapped my arms around his neck as his eyes went wide. Thank you, I said softly before pressing my lips to his. His hand grasped my hips, pulling me closer to him. He deepened the kiss, moving his lips over mine like he was begging for more. I pulled away to catch my breath and he smiled at me. Liam, you are an amazing alpha, you know that. I said blushing. Only because you make me a better man, my little Luna, he said with a smile. He brushed a stray strand of hair from my face. What do you say about ditching everything for tonight? My eyebrows rose in surprise. Ditch everything? What about Cole and Isaac? Everything is handled for now. Isaac will be gone by morning. I told him in no uncertain terms he will not be taking a member of my pack against her will. What about Cole? The 3 days have passed. Aren't you afraid he will come after me? He can try but he won't succeed, he said, pulling me even closer to him. Our bodies were flush now, and I could almost feel the bulge in his pants. A warm feeling erupted in my abdomen. Plus, there has been no traces of him for days now. That worried me. How could he just disappear like that? He was very determined and seemed to be one step ahead of Liam at all times before. Don't worry, sweetheart. I will not let him lay a finger on what is mine ever again, he promised. He moved my hair over my shoulder to expose his mark on my shoulder. He brushed it lightly with his fingers. Sparks ignited from the mark and a small gasp escaped my lips. Liam chuckled. Okay. But what are we going to do? I asked, trying not to melt under the lustful look he was giving me. I was thinking we could go to the city and get a hotel for the night. Maybe you would let me take you to dinner for the evening, he smiled. I nodded. Okay, I said, agreeing. We cleaned up the picnic and walked hand in hand back to the pack house. Liam left me by his car outside while he ran in and put the basket away. I waited patiently by the car for him to return when I heard footsteps near me. They stopped when I heard a voice. It seems that the little Alpha does leave his Luna unattended, said Alpha Isaac's deep voice. I turned to look at him. He was giving me a precarious look. He approached me. I apologize for the circumstances under which we met. Your mate and I seem to be unable to see eye to eye at this moment. I am glad to see you are well, he said. He was trying to discreetly sniff the air. Yes, I am. Thank you for your concern. Are you departing then? I said, trying to keep things civil and detached. For now. I appreciate the hospitality even if a deal was not able to be reached, he said. I apologize but I did not catch your name before, his eyes narrowed at me. I swallowed. That would be because I did not give it to you, came Liam's voice behind me. Almost instantly, he was at my side and had his hand around my waist. Come, sweetheart. We have things to attend to, he said to me without taking his eyes off Isaac. I turned my body into his slightly, feeling uncomfortable under Isaac's stare. I reached my hand up and placed it on Liam's chest. Of course, we should go, I said to him. Good day, Alpha Earlies, I said to Isaac. Liam gave him a curt nod before turning us around and opening the car door for me. Liam blocked Isaac's view of me with his large frame. I was momentarily thankful for the drastic difference in our sizes. I climbed in as Isaac spoke again. I apologize for my rudeness, Alpha. I just cannot help but notice that your Luna looks strikingly like my mother. Liam's hand gripped the door. I looked into his eyes. I could see the storm brewing there while he tried to get his emotions under control. I reached my hand towards him, brushing my hand against his arm, hoping even a small amount of my touch could help refocus him. She must have been a beautiful woman, he said without turning around. I looked at him, pleading with him silently. Please Liam, let's just go. Let him leave. I begged him in my head. Confusion twisted over his face but quickly vanished. He shut my door and turned to Isaac. I could not hear what he said next before he walked around the car and got in the driver's side. He started the car and we pulled out of the driveway in silence. His right hand rested on the center console. I grabbed it, intertwining our fingers. I looked up at him. He sighed. "Are you okay?" I asked. He nodded. "No one will take you away," he said. I knew he was still battling the possessiveness he felt over me and Isaac's insistence that I go to White Moon. I rubbed his arm gently as we drove, hoping it would help to calm him by the time we arrived. Liam. My mind was reeling. Isaac was suspicious of my mate's identity. It was not uncommon for a Luna to be guarded by her alpha, especially before she was accepted by her pack. But I could not formally introduce her without giving her away. I was trying to avoid a physical confrontation of any kind in front of Aelia. I had not anticipated Aelia looking like her grandmother. I could not remember her parents at all. The thought never crossed my mind that she may have some family resemblance. All I thought about was keeping her safe and with me at all times. Gavin had been another wonderful roller coaster I had been forced to ride since waking up this morning. I could feel his excitement and contentment at Aelia being marked. I could also feel his rage towards Isaac for trying to take her away from us. Then there was his anxiety the entire time she was out of our sight. Worst of all was his gloom during our picnic lunch. He kept whimpering like he wanted control to be with Aelia. She had said she forgave me and did not blame him, but she had also not said she was ready to face him again. I was still undecided on if I should allow it should she even ask. I resolved to make that decision if she wanted to speak to him. But it was making him feel slightly rejected by her. Then there was that sound I thought I heard. When she was sitting in the car and her hand reached out to me. I thought for a second I heard her say please, Liam, like she was asking me to disengage from him, but her lips never moved. I had my eyes on her the entire time and I know for a fact she did not speak. Maybe I was just hearing her voice in my head. Maybe my brain was telling me what she would have said. I tried to shake away all the thoughts swirling around in my head. I turned my focus to Azalea's soft fingers gently rubbing up and down my arm. The familiar sparks of pleasure were trailing along with her fingers. That combined with her scent swirling around the car thanks to the running heater was calming me. I drove us into the city. I took us to a nice hotel in the middle of downtown so we could walk to a restaurant nearby later. Aelia had nodded off by the time we arrived. I parked the car out front. Jogging around to her side of the car, I paid the valet to park the car and unload the bags that were already in the back thanks to Lily. I opened the passenger door and lifted Aelia out of the car. She stirred slightly. "It's okay. I will carry you," I whispered in her ear. She wrapped her arms around my neck and settled into my arms. I could not help but smile at her. Her hair hung behind her shoulder, revealing her fresh mark. She was the most beautiful thing on this planet, and she was all mine. I walked in and over to the front desk to check us in. There was a willowy blonde with a pencil skirt and collared blouse at the reception desk. She eyed me as I approached. "Hello, how can I help you?" she said in a fake, sweet voice. "I need a room for the evening," I said. She looked at Aelia in my arms curiously. I gave her a smile. My dear wife fell asleep in the car and I just could not bear to wake her. "Right," she said, clearly put off by us. The city was always like this. With many species living among humans, sometimes humans found us odd. "We only have a suite available tonight," she said. "Sounds great," I said. I reached in my pocket and handed her my credit card. Her eyes widened a little but got our booking taken care of. Once she was finished, she handed me a key and pointed me to the elevator. I could feel her eyes on us as I walked away. When we got into the elevator, Aelia began to stir again. I let her wake up this time, kissing her forehead. "Hey," I said quietly. "Where are we?" she asked. "On the way to our room," I said. I pecked her lips, and she gave me a smile. I would do anything to keep that smile on her face. The elevator made a ding sound and the doors opened. I carried Aelia to our room and opened the door. "You going to put me down?" she giggled. "Nope," I said. I smiled down at her as I walked towards the bedroom portion of our suite. "Liam, I am awake now," she said. "I can walk." "Nope," I said again. I gave her a devilish smile. I took her over to the bed and gently dropped her onto its plush surface. She giggled at me as I climbed over top her, caging her in between my arms. "What are you doing?" she said with a playful smile on her lips. I licked my lips and said, "Kissing my mate, of course." I smashed my lips to hers, kissing her with intensity. When I finally let her lips go, she was panting, trying to catch her breath. I could see her lips already puffy from just one kiss. I peppered kisses along her jaw and up to her ear, nibbling on her lobe a bit. "I love you, Aelia," I whispered, and I could feel her shiver. I kissed her neck, taking special care not to touch my marks. A small moan escaped her lips, only encouraging me. I could feel my member rising. Her hands came up to grasp my shirt. I shifted my weight to one arm while I reached back with the other to pull my shirt off. I tossed it to the floor. Her eyes grew wide and her tongue darted out to lick her plump lips. I surprised her, diving down and capturing her mouth once more with mine. Her small gasp opened her lips so I could invade her mouth with my tongue. I kissed every inch of her mouth, savoring and memorizing the taste. She kissed me back with enthusiasm. I used my free hand to roam up and down her side. Her body began to arch from the bed, responding to my simple touch. Finally, I broke our kiss. I had to give her the decision. "Okay, kitten. Your choice. I will take you out tonight on a date. We get up now and get ready. Or we can stay in, order room service, and I will start making it all up to you." Slowly and sweetly, I whispered to her as I ran my nose along her neck. Before she could answer, I gently touched my lips to her mark, eliciting a groan from her sweet lips. I know I wasn't fighting fair, but having her all to myself was fueling my need. "Stay," she finally whispered. Chapter 60. Aelia. "Okay, kitten. Your choice. I will take you out tonight on a date. We get up now and get ready. Or we can stay in, order room service, and I will start making it all up to you." Slowly and sweetly, he whispered in his husky voice. Everything in my lower half was clenching at his words. His nose was running along my neck, sending shivers all over. His scent was stronger today, like I could smell him even better now, and it was absolutely heady. My head was practically spinning with all his stimulation, and my body was arching into his like it was yearning to be touched by him. His lips found his mark on my neck and he pressed a kiss to it, sending sparks throughout my body. I could feel my panties getting wet. I could not help the groan I let out at the pleasurable feeling. "Stay," I whispered, blushing. His eyes darkened, played on his lips. "Good choice," he said before kissing my already swollen lips once more. My hands wandered over his shirtless chest, feeling all the firm muscles. His skin was warm and soft under my fingertips. His mouth moved away from my lips and down my neck to my collar bones. Say the word and I stop. Okay baby, he said genuinely. I nodded. He was letting this happen all at my pace. He covered my lips once more in a sweet. As he kissed me, he sat us up, pulling my body on top of him. How was that kitten? He said. Can I continue? Continue? I asked breathlessly, trying to calm down from what just happened. Oh, yes. I said, I want to worship. Every inch, he said slowly. Inside. And out. He punctuated his words with a kiss to my face. Oh, my, I gasped quietly. I could feel my cheeks flaming. His eyes raked over me. His irises were midnight blue now as he gazed at me with hunger. It was incredibly hot. As he took in my almost naked form below him, he slowly undid his own pants, discarding them as well. My lower half was aching for him to touch me again. And as if he could read my mind, his mouth was back on me. He worked his way down my left leg, kissing and sucking all the way down while his hands rubbed and massaged my legs. When he reached my foot, he slowly ran his hands up the soles of both feet, then kissed the pads of each toe. I threw my head back, moaning as he went. This was the most slow and pleasurable torture imaginable. I did not know how much more I could take before I burst. He moved up the right side this time, his mouth roaming over every inch of my leg. He reached the apex of my thighs. Running his nose over my very wet panties, he took in a deep breath. No, no, kitten, he said. Keeps these pretty little hips still for me. He continued his barrage of my clit with his tongue while I lay there moaning his name. The pressure building in my core was almost too much to bear. His mouth pulled away and he blew cool air on my wet lips, causing me to shudder and whimper. Do you want me to make you see *M again, kitten? He said, looking up at me through his lashes. Please, I begged in a soft whimper. He gave me another smirk and went back to work on my clit. Now his movement was more intense, more hungry. I could not help as my back arched up and my hips moved against him. Liam crawled his way up my body. He hovered over me with a triumphant smile on his face. He pecked my lips as my breathing began to even out. How was that? He asked with a knowing smile. I said, still unable to form coherent words. He chuckled. He rolled us over, so I was now lying comfortably over his chest. He rested his nose on the top of my head and rubbed soft circles over my back. We laid like that for a while before he finally spoke. Thank you, baby, he said softly. I picked my head up and gave him a curious look. What could he be thanking me for? I did not do anything just now. For what? I whispered. For trusting me. I was not sure you would ever let me touch you again. And I would have deserved it. He paused. He wrapped his arms around me tightly. And for being mine. I am the luckiest wolf in the world to have a mate like you. I reached and kissed his lips tenderly. I love you, Liam, I said. He smiled at me and said, I love you too, Aelia. I rested my head back on his chest and listened to the rhythmic beating of my mate's heart. Before long, I could feel myself falling asleep. Liam. I knew I shouldn't let her fall asleep, but I just needed her in my arms for a bit longer. I laid there with her soft, naked form over top of me, inhaling her scent. I rubbed mindless circles on her back as I held her close to me. I could never let her be away from me again. Every part of me ached for her in any way I could have her. I was hopeful that one day she would trust me enough again. She had been quietly snoozing on my chest for at least 10 minutes when I finally decided to get us up and cleaned up. Aelia, baby, wake up, I whispered into her ear. She moaned, clearly not wanting to move. Let's go shower, then we can nap or eat, whatever you want, I said in her ear. Come take a shower with me baby, I said, reaching out my hands to her. She grabbed both of them and I helped her down from the counter. We climbed into the shower and let the warm water fall over us. She hugged her arms around my waist and laid her head against my chest. I hugged her close. I reached over to the small shelf and grabbed the shampoo. I turned her around to face the wall and began gently massaging a small bit into her scalp. Her head rolled back, and her shoulders relaxed as my fingers worked their way over her head. That feels good, she said in a small voice. After I was satisfied, I let her move her head under the water to properly rinse out the shampoo. She surprised me by grabbing the body wash and squeezing a small bit into her hand. May I? She asked looking up at me through her long eyelashes. I nodded my head and let her hands roam wherever she pleased. You don't, I started but she moved her hands over me, gently caressing and washing me. A hiss escaped my lips. Her hands felt like heaven over me. When she finished, her hands trailed north up my chest and wrapped around my neck. She stepped forward, her wet skin against mine now. I looked down into her sweet green orbs. I placed a gentle kiss on her lips. You, my love, are going to have to let me cool off before I leave this shower. First, it is my turn to wash you, I said. I turned her around and grabbed the body wash. I massaged it into every inch of her skin, listening to her soft pants as my hands rubbed all over her. I let her rinse off and nodded to let her know she could go get dressed. She exited the shower, and I turned the water to cold. Liam, we don't have any clean clothes, she said outside the shower door. The luggage should be right inside the door, baby. I had the staff bring it up, I yelled to her. Thank you, she said, and I heard her leave the bathroom. I let the cold water run over me, cooling down my sensitive skin. When I was finally back to normal, I exited the shower and wrapped a towel around my waist. When I went into the bedroom, Aelia was sitting on the bed swinging her legs back and forth. There was a book in her hands and her brow was furrowed in concentration. Everything she did was cute. What you reading? I asked, spooking her. She jumped a little and looked up at me. I assume you had Lily pack this bag, she said, raising an eyebrow. Yeah. Why, she said. I just noticed that she was wearing one of my shirts. She set the book down and held up some very revealing lingerie. This is her idea of sleepwear for me I guess, she said. I let out a laugh. At least she threw in a book I have never read, she said rolling her eyes. So, I guess you are stealing my clothes then. I said in between laughs. She smiled and threw me a pair of shorts. You can have those, she said. I dropped the towel right there and began to pull on the shorts. Her eyes went wide, and she looked away. I walked over to her, bending over to trap her between my arms on the bed. So shy, kitten. I've tasted every inch of you and you still blush, I said in a low voice. I took mercy on her, grabbing her hands and pulling her off the bed. Let's go order some food, I said, dragging her out of the bedroom. The rest of the audiobooks will be uploaded in the next episode. Join us on Patreon to listen to more unlimited audiobooks.